The desert sun hung low over the training grounds, turning the sky into a blaze of orange and gold. Heat shimmered above the sand, bending the horizon into waves of illusion. On that evening, one of the toughest marksmanship challenges ever organized was about to unfold. 100 expert marksmen, decorated snipers, competition champions, and combat veterans stood assembled at the firing line. Their missions sounded straightforward, but bordered on impossible. Hit a steel target mounted on a vehicle racing across the range at 100 kilometers per hour. The target would be visible for only a few seconds as it tore across the dusty stretch before disappearing behind a barrier. Precision, timing, wind judgment, and nerves of steel would all be tested at once. One by one, the experts stepped forward. Each shooter carried years of experience and confidence. They calculated bullet drop, wind drift, and target lead. They adjusted scopes, steadied their breathing, and squeezed their triggers with textbook perfection. The rifle shots echoed across the desert, sharp, powerful cracks followed by tense silence. But the sound everyone waited for, the ringing clang of steel, never came. Some shots struck just behind the moving plate, others flew slightly ahead. A few missed entirely, swallowed by the desert. Frustration began to creep into the line. These were not amateurs, these were the best. Yet the speed of the vehicle, combined with shifting crosswinds and the distortion from heat waves, defeated them again and again. As the number of failed attempts climbed, whispers spread among the observers. Officers studied the monitors, wind flags fluttered unpredictably. The challenge was proving far more difficult than anticipated. 90 attempts passed without success, then 95, then 99. The final shooter among the 100 lowered his rifle after a clean but unsuccessful attempt. A heavy silence settled over the range. 100 experts had tried, 100 had failed. Standing slightly apart from the others was a female Marine who had been observing quietly the entire time. She wasn't the loudest voice on the range, nor the most decorated. Some questioned whether she should attempt a challenge that had just humbled 100 elite marksmen. But she had not been focused on the misses. She had been studying the movement of the vehicle, the rhythm of its engine, and the terrain beneath its tires. She noticed something subtle. Halfway across the track, the vehicle dipped slightly before climbing a small rise. For a brief fraction of a second, its speed reduced, not dramatically, but enough to matter. When she stepped up to the line, the air felt different. There was no dramatic speech, no visible tension. She adjusted her stance and rested the rifle firmly against her shoulder. The engine roared in the distance as the vehicle accelerated once more. Dust spiraled behind it like a comet tail. Through her scope, the moving target flashed into view. She didn't fire immediately. She tracked it calmly, ignoring the pressure of 100 failed attempts behind her. Her breathing slowed, her heartbeat steadied. The vehicle approached the midpoint. For the smallest instant, just as she had predicted, it dipped and slightly decelerated, climbing the shallow rise. In that precise moment, she squeezed the trigger. The rifle cracked. A split second later, a clear metallic clang echoed back across the desert. The steel plate jolted from the impact, swinging violently before the vehicle disappeared beyond the berm. For a heartbeat, nobody reacted. Then the range erupted with disbelief and applause. Officers replayed the footage. The hit was undeniable, clean, centered, and executed while the target was still moving at full speed. When asked how she succeeded where so many experts had failed, her answer was simple. She hadn't focused on competing against the other shooters. She focused on understanding the environment. She paid attention to patterns instead of rushing to prove herself. While others calculated purely for constant speed, she anticipated the brief change in momentum caused by the terrain. It wasn't strength that made the difference. It wasn't luck. It was observation, patience, and disciplined training. Her achievement quickly became more than just a successful shot. It became a lesson repeated in training sessions afterward. The 100 who missed were not incompetent. They were highly skilled professionals. But sometimes expertise can create assumptions. Many expected the vehicle's speed to remain perfectly constant. She questioned that assumption. She watched longer. She adapted. The story spread beyond the base, inspiring young recruits and seasoned soldiers alike. It wasn't simply about one Marine hitting a difficult target. It was about composure under pressure. It was about not letting previous failures, whether your own or others, define your mindset. It was about the power of preparation meeting opportunity at exactly the right moment. Long after the sun dipped below the horizon and the range lights flickered on, the sound of that single metallic clang lingered in memory. It was more than the sound of a bullet striking steel. It was the sound of barriers breaking, of doubt being silenced, and of quiet determination proving its worth. 100 expert marksmen failed that day, but one focused, patient Marine showed that sometimes success belongs not to the loudest or the most celebrated, but to the one who observes, adapts, and believes in the power of a single, perfectly timed shot.